Hey, I want to share with you all a little project that I'm working on, which is going to be a cowl neck warmer, and it's with this beautiful yarn. So I'll just get the whole ball of it and show you. I keep it in this kind of noisy little plastic bag. And well, I rolled it up into this ball so you can't really see all the colors that it turns into. Well, maybe a little bit there. Do you see the gray? Anyhow, it's going to kind of transform as I go along. And I wanted to film this because I've been knitting with the, I think it's called continental knitting. I don't know if I'm in the frame the right way. Can you see if I'm comfortable like that? I don't know. My camera's picking up. I don't want to be too far in or else I'm not comfortable. So I'm basically holding the yarn in my left hand instead of my right hand. Usually you dip in. I'll show you where the working yarn is here, and you put the needle through and then wrap it around and then pull that back out. What I'm doing is I'm holding the yarn in my left hand. I swoop it around my pinky like that, and then it's this cool little backwards thing. And then back like this so that I'm holding the yarn against this needle. And then I go in and then just grab the thread and go through, or the yarn, instead of sweeping it around with my other hand. So let's knit a little bit like this and talk about 2016. Oh my goodness. I hope that everyone had a very enjoyable time bringing in the new year. I didn't do anything exceptionally crazy at all. I actually crashed. I was in my hometown with my parents, and none of my hometown friends were around, so I just went with my parents to their family friend party, hanging out with a bunch of 60-year-olds. They were playing some murder mystery game, and I just kind of hung out, or I made myself busy. I helped do the dishes and prepare the food for them, and then I also, when they were deep in their game, I went and I had a nap in another room, but I was there for the countdown, and had a conversation with a man who was sort of a friend of my parents. So they're from a small town, and there's their little group of friends. They're all sort of like these businessy people, but like in farming equipment. There's a couple of doctors. One's the town librarian. One is a business owner. She owns like the Mr. Sub in town. One's a physiotherapist. Yeah, so there was one gentleman who was a part of that group of friends who I hadn't really met yet. Some of them I've known for a long time, but the other ones I didn't know him. He was friends of my other parents' friends. He is a business consultant for farming, and we got on the topic of like, well, I don't eat meat, and I'm not like I'm not religious about it at all, but interesting how he says like sometimes you never know if you think that you're buying, that we were just talking about like organic versus not organic produce or meat, and also like GMO versus non-GMO, and he's kind of from the school of that GMO is not bad and that it's necessary. And I don't know enough about that. I didn't know enough to argue back. I was like, well, I can't afford organic all the time, but they say like buying local is always better, right? And I think that that's true. I don't really know what I'm trying to say with that. It's just a story. Anyhow, I was tired and right? Someone's just like mansplaining down at me, and I don't really know enough about this to try and counter argue, so I'll just go along with it. When it comes to food that I buy, I just do, yeah, I try and buy local and cheap. I eat a lot of grains and beans. Talking about beans, I was listening to the radio on CBC yesterday, and there was a good interview with Chef Michael, I don't remember his last name, but he's very tall, and apparently the UN declared 2016 the year of the pulses, and pulses are legumes, so like lentils and beans, as being we need to really think of those as a source of protein for meat eaters alike, for everybody, because in North America we just assume that all our protein comes from meat, but that is only unique to North America, and that many other cultures you do get protein from pulses. And what's really cool about that and being in Canada is that we are one of the biggest producers of lentils. Did you know that? It's a fact. I remember learning that a few years ago. Like, oh, whoa, Canada grows lentils. Yeah, because I don't know why we're taught that the only sources of protein are meat, and if not meat, then soy, and that's it. But it is so not true. That lentils and legumes, like chickpeas and black beans, are so good for you, especially in combination with rice. That is your complete protein, and if you have that, you're not missing anything when it comes to the amino acid profile. Did you know? So incorporating at least one meal a week with replacing your meat with pulses instead is very good for the environment and is very good for you, because they have so much more fiber in them than meat, and very, very affordable, because meat prices are going up, and beans and lentils are so cheap to make. They're the cheapest if you buy them dry, but then you have to kind of soak them overnight, and they take a long time to cook. I have only lentils I make from dry all the time, because they don't take very long. You don't need to soak them overnight, especially red lentils. They cook up so fast. But things like chickpeas, I buy them in the can. Because when you rinse them, that's what you should do if you buy kidney beans or mixed beans from can. Rinse them off, and that way you won't get gassy, and you're not losing anything when you rinse away that aquafaba. As my mom, she thinks that there's all this, she keeps it to cook with it, and I think that's kind of weird, because that's where all the toots are. Alright, I'm approaching the end of my row, as you can see this little stitch marker. I think that is the end of my mumbling, so yeah, this is my little project for the new year. I love it, it's so gorgeous. Take care, my lovelies.